Hey, it's Molly from Journey Strength and Fitness here to welcome you to your orientation to my beginner strength training program. I'm excited to be here with you today, and first just wanted to share a little bit more about myself. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of two, and after years of teaching and athletic coaching and most recently counseling, I'm so excited to now be working as an ACE certified fitness trainer, pursuing what has been a constant passion through my life in athletics and running in particular. And so now to be coaching people, counseling people, teaching people about fitness and through their fitness journeys is just something that really has been a confluence of so many things in my life. So I'm thrilled to be here helping you today and to help you through this course and to help you to develop strength and confidence and grit and balance to support you in your endeavors in your life and make your body more healthy. So I hope to share a few things today that will help you feel confident to embark on this strength program. It will help you to understand more some of the cues that I will give through the workouts. It will help you to set up your space for maximum success and comfort, and hopefully just to teach you a little bit more about your body and how we're going to use it. So to begin, I would definitely recommend being in a space where you feel confident that you can move. So think about noise level, think about your flooring, think about your footing, thinking about what time you're going to be doing this during the day, and picking a space where you can move. You know, where you can move vertically, where you can move laterally, you can move front and back, where you can move, maybe jump a little bit or march or even run in place. You don't have to have a huge room, but I would suggest some sort of square space that you can move. Beyond that, your flooring should be something that is tacky. You don't want to slip, so a mat that has some cushion to it, because we may be on the floor, on our elbows or on our hands or even on our knees. So a little bit of cushion is good on your mat, but also important is that it's tacky. Certainly don't want to be sliding around. You want to have good footing. And underneath your mat should be a surface that is complementary to that mat. So not something that's going to move around. So test it before you start. Test being able to jump, test being able to go side to side, test being on your elbows, test being on your knees, and find that comfort level so that when you begin the workouts, you're ready to go. Let's talk about apparel, just because we're talking about footing. So a variety of different shoes can work. I would recommend a cross-training shoe. Cross-training shoes tend to be a little lower to the ground. A running shoe, a walking shoe can definitely work. You just want to make sure you have flexibility and you're able to move laterally, you're able to move forward and back. I tend to think that they're a little bit lower to the ground, the cross-training shoes. But most importantly, make sure it complements the surface that you're going to be on and that you have good footing. Apparel, I would definitely recommend comfort is first. So maybe layers. It depends on the space that you're going to be using. Is it going to be chilly when you start? Is it going to be warm? But you set yourself up for any situation so that you don't have to leave the workout. You don't have to stop it, but you have everything with you that you'll need. Since we're talking about that, of course, a bottle of water is critical. So having all of these things set up before you start your workout is going to make your experience that much better, because you're not going to have to pause. I always like to set out my clothing the night before, so there's no barrier. You're lowering the barrier. You set your alarm if you're doing it in the morning, your clothes are already set out, your water bottle's on the counter, the coffee's set, and there are fewer things that can make you consider, I'm not sure I want to do this today. So make it easy for yourself by setting yourself up well. Also in your space, you might want to consider having a mirror. It's not necessary, but I will cue you sometimes about your form. So maybe we'll be talking about your upper body, maybe we'll be talking about your legs. And if you can see yourself, it can be helpful. Again, not necessary, but if it's easy for you to set up a mirror that you can see your form, I think you'll learn even more about yourself. So let's talk a little bit more about your body. So your body, you're going to be asking your body to do things that maybe you haven't asked it to do before, but believe me, it can learn. Our body is trainable. These are all the things we're going to work on are skills that you can learn and things that will become comfortable and more comfortable as we work together. So let's first talk about breathing. Breathing sounds like it's just sort of a normal thing. We do it every day, and so what is there to talk about? But there is more functional or dysfunctional breathing. So I want to recommend that you use abdominal breathing. This will allow you to take in maximum oxygen. It will allow you to expel the carbon dioxide. It's going to allow your muscles to recover faster. It's going to allow you to do more work because your body is oxygenated. So what you can practice is abdominal breathing. And what I mean by that is filling your body with oxygen, kind of thinking of your abdominal area as a balloon that you're filling up as you inhale. And then expelling out the CO2 as you exhale. Sometimes when we breathe hard, we have a tendency to really lift our rib cage up and down. But in fact, it's much more efficient to be using our abdominal muscles, which we'll be strengthening through this program for sure, to have effective breathing. So inhale, fill that balloon, exhale, thrust it out. So practice that abdominal breathing. It's going to help you. I will cue you through our workouts. I might say you should be exhaling now, you should be inhaling now. And so as you're thinking about that inhaling and exhaling, think about using your abdominal muscles to help you to do that. Related to that, I will talk a lot about core engagement. Nearly everything we do is going to be thinking about also engaging your core muscles. And just so we're all on the same page, your core muscles really wrap around your entire midsection. Certainly there are your front abdominal muscles, there are your oblique muscles, there are also your muscles in your back. And all of these work together ideally to support your body. So you might hear me say, make sure you're engaging your core muscles. And you might say, I don't really know if I am. So one thing to work on related to the breathing we just talked about, when you're doing effective inhaling and exhaling using your abdominal muscles, particularly in the exhale, that's a situation where you can feel that you're tightening those muscles. You're centering in your belly button toward your spine. That is core engagement. So if you want to practice that abdominal breathing, you can practice it standing up. You can actually practice it lying down, where you're centering, meaning you're bringing your belly button toward your spine. Or if we're in a plank position, you're bringing your belly button up, actually, pretending that I'm sort of pulling your belly button from a string from up above. That is core engagement, meaning you're flexing those muscles to keep your body upright. When you do that, that means you're supporting your lower back. So if you've ever had low back pain, effective core engagement can actually make that go away, and stronger abdominal muscles can reduce low back pain. So we're going to talk a lot as we work together about core engagement, but that's a little bit about it. If you've ever thought, I don't really know what that means. It really means drawing in. It means flexing those muscles. It means bringing the belly button back towards your spine. You can practice that with abdominal breathing. A couple of other things that I want to talk about are related to squatting and planking. These are both exercises that are progressive. So there are multiple levels of each of these exercises. So I want you to remember that you will need to start where you are. And although we can plank from a hand position or an elbow position, from our toes, from our knees, you need to start from where you are. So a plank may be for you starting with your hands directly under your shoulders, your knees behind you, feeling like, okay, I'm centering in my belly button toward my spine. That may be a plank for you. A plank for you may be on your toes, where you're doing the same thing. You're drawing your abdominal muscles in. But I want you to remember that there's multiple ways to do it. And I'll cue you through our workouts to remind you of that. But planks might be from our elbows. Planks might be from our hands, from our knees, from our toes. We may be moving limbs. The more you move your body in a plank, the more challenging it will be, because you're challenging your balance at the same time. Another thing to think about when we're in plank position is our shoulders. So our shoulders want to be in a stacked position. And one of the cues I like to use for that is to pretend that your shoulder blades, you're sort of doming your upper back, and your shoulder blades are turning and kind of squishing in to give your rib cage a hug, as opposed to sticking out those shoulder blades. When you do that, you'll feel that your core muscles may automatically flex. So that's a bit about planking. We're gonna work together, you're gonna get stronger through those plank positions, but know that you're gonna grow with that, and you're gonna get stronger throughout. Let's also talk about squats, because proper squatting position is really important to make sure that you're supporting your back, that you're not gonna get knee pain, and actually squats and other things we'll do for our legs are gonna prevent and maybe even get rid of some knee pain that you have, because your muscles will support your joints better. That's one of the hallmarks of strength training. But to start, what I'd like to remind you of, or teach you if you've never thought about a squat before, which is fine, your feet are gonna be shoulder width apart when we begin. You're gonna have soft knees. That's gonna be for actually a lot of the exercises that we do. One of the most important things in squatting is that our weight is behind us as opposed to in front of us. So sometimes people have a tendency to lead with their quadricep muscles, that's our front muscles. We actually really want to use the power of our hamstrings, that's our back upper large muscle group, and our glutes. So when we do that, we may use our hands out front to counterbalance. And the cue I like to use is to pretend that you're actually squatting over a toilet that you don't really care to sit on. And so you're sort of hovering over that. The first movement that you're making is actually your butt going behind you. You're bending your knees, but your first position is going back. You might find that your toes even come off the ground, and that's okay. That means your weight is in your heels. Another thing to think about is through a squat, your core muscles should be tight. You should be engaging them, centering in, because that's going to keep your body nice and stable. And another thing about a squat is that when you're in your lowest point position, one goal to have is that from your ankle to your knee should be parallel to your hip to your shoulder. So as we're down here, I'm looking at my angle from here to here being parallel from my ankle to my knee. So a mirror can be helpful for that. We're gonna work together. Form is most important before we add resistance to squats, but this is one of the most effective ways to build muscle, build strength in your legs. So a couple more things that I want to talk about are related to the workouts. So one thing that I hope is helpful is that through the workouts, you don't have to count your repetitions of things. So for example, we may be working on bicep curls or shoulder presses. You don't have to count your repetitions. I'll be keeping the time for you. And in that time, you might find you repeat that exercise 5 times. Maybe you do it 10, maybe you do it 12. It's gonna depend on the resistance that you're using, but that's where the customization comes into this. I'll be telling you when to switch the exercise, so you don't have to worry about counting. Also related to that, don't worry about, if you're not keeping the same time as I am. It's most important that you do what's right for you. Generally speaking, when we're doing strength training, the slower you move in an exercise, actually the more challenging it will be, because you're forcing that muscle to be under tension for a longer period of time. Some exercises, I'm gonna ask you to go faster because they may be more designed to be cardiovascularly active. But don't worry about keeping the same time that I am. You have to do what's right for you. Also, just remember to put your video on full screen so you can see me from floor to ceiling. I'll try to change my angle at times so that you can see me better, but that way you can have the most, see the most, the best picture and be able to learn the exercise as well. Let's talk a little bit more about what you'll need. So, I don't want you to have to get a bunch of fancy equipment. I want you to have things that you'll be able to use through your life and that are helpful, and you don't need a lot to make that happen. So first, a set of resistance bands is going to be very helpful. These typically come in a pack that has 3, maybe 5, and they're going to be of varying strengths. They might be yellow, green, red, blue, black. There's also sets I've seen that are variations of other colors, so don't worry about that. Just that you're getting a set that has varying resistance. We'll be using these sometimes with our upper body, sometimes with our lower body, and I will suggest using a lighter resistance bands band for some exercises, a heavier resistance band for others. And as you get stronger, you'll be able to use tougher bands for different exercises. These are great, they're easy to travel with, so I would highly recommend a set, and they're quite easy to find now online. In addition to that, so a couple of sets of dumbbells, and let's talk about this a little bit. If you are just beginning and you have never done weight training before, I would suggest maybe the first couple of workouts, just make the motions. You don't have to grab a set of dumbbells and immediately start using them. I'd rather have you get used to the motions before you add that. Or maybe you grab a couple of water bottles filled with some water, or a couple of canned vegetables, and use that as your weight. Once you start to feel comfortable with the movements, then you want to add resistance. So ideally, I would recommend maybe 2 pairs of dumbbells, one that's a lighter weight, one that's a heavier weight. And I think generally speaking, the lighter weight could be anywhere between 2 and 5 pounds, and the heavier set could be anywhere between 5 and 10 pounds perhaps. One thing you could test is, can you do a shoulder press with your lighter set of weights? Does that feel comfortable? For the heavier set, could you do a back row like this? Or could you bend a little bit down doing a lunge with your legs, or perhaps even a squat? So this is something that you're going to progress through gradually. You will get stronger and you'll be able to use heavier dumbbells. But form is the most important thing first. So see what you can find, and beyond that, if you have trouble finding dumbbells, or you want to wait a little bit and you want to see kind of what you might need, if you have any tube resistance bands, those can also stand in for dumbbells. So for example, if we're doing bicep curls with dumbbells like this, we can also use a tube band to do the very same exercise, and it's quite effective. So that might be something that could work for you, but you don't need a whole lot of fancy equipment. This is something that I'm really passionate about, so that people don't feel like they have to exclude themselves from exercise because they don't have a lot of fancy things. You really don't need it. I am confident that I'm going to lead you through challenging and effective workouts with just a few things, including your body weight. So I'm thrilled to be working with you. I'm so excited to help you through this journey. One more thing to know is that in our workouts, I will begin with a warm-up, because I don't want you to feel like you have to arrive at the workout already warmed up. But I will not do stretching at the end of each workout. Instead, I would definitely refer you to my stretching video that I shared, and that's something that you can do following the workout. You could do it directly after. Maybe you go in and grab your coffee or something. Maybe you need to do something prior to a shower, but I would definitely recommend doing that stretching routine or some version of it following our workouts. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to answering your questions. I look forward to helping you to gain strength, and I will see you soon.